Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today the Denver Broncos have released linebacker and defensive end Frank Clark, who has played this was only his first season with the Denver Broncos, was waived by the Kansas City Chiefs in the offseason. Now, funny enough, he's now the top landing spot for him to go back is to his former team. And his former team beat his former team last night, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs are the front runner to land the linebacker. Well, this was actually Frank Clark's first year playing linebacker, so I would still think as Frank Clark as a defensive end. You know, he's been in the NFL since 2015, played 4 seasons in Seattle and 4 seasons in Kansas City, and every single season, 4 years in Kansas City, 4 years in Seattle, defensive end. Now, played only 2 games in Denver, missed 3 games. Only 2 games in Denver, played linebacker. So I really wouldn't think is it too much as a linebacker. I still think as him as a defensive end for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, he barely even played with the Broncos. Played 2 games, had 2 tackles. That was literally it. That's all he did. And I still think of as him as a Kansas City Chief, and turns out he very well could be and probably will be going back to the Kansas City Chiefs. So we're not going to talk about his stats. He barely has any stats with the Denver Broncos this season. Only 2 games played and 2 tackles. 2022 with the Chiefs, though. Only reason you saw him get waived because his contract was too much, and Kansas City really couldn't deal with that. He played 15 games and 15 starts. In 2022, he had 1 pass defended with 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, 5 sacks, 40 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 13 QB hits, and he had 1 safety. 2021, he was a Pro Bowler. This was his 3rd straight season being a Pro Bowler. 14 games, 14 starts. He had 2 forced fumbles with 5 sacks, 22 tackles, and 4 tackles for loss. 2020 also was a Pro Bowler. 15 games, 15 starts, 2 passes defended, 1 fumble recovery, returned that for 14 yards, 6 sacks, 29 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, and 15 QB hits. 2019 was also a Pro Bowler with the Kansas City Chiefs. So 3 straight Pro Bowls in 2019, 2020, and 2020. 14 games, 11 starts, 1 interception for 5 yards, which for a 5-yard return. 4 passes defended, 3 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 8 sacks, 40 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, and 14 QB hits. And then 2018 with the Seahawks, one of his best years of his NFL career. 16 games, 16 starts, 1 interception, which was the first interception of his career. He returned it for 26 yards. 2 passes defended, 3 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, 13 sacks, the most he's ever had in one season, 41 combined tackles, 10 tackles for loss, and 27 QB hits. 2017 with the Seattle Seahawks, 16 games, 12 starts, 2 passes defended, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 9 sacks, 32 tackles. 2016 with the Seahawks, 15 games, 5 starts, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, returned that for 27 yards, 10 sacks, 47 combined tackles, and 11 tackles for loss. 2015 with the Seahawks was his rookie year. Didn't do much, did play 15 games. Not going to go over his stats in his rookie season, but he was with the Seattle Seahawks in his rookie year. So, yeah, he's been a great player really since he got into the NFL. I mean, he's been around. This is his 9th season, and he's been a dominant player at the defensive end position back when he was in Seattle from 2015 through 2018. His last 2016, 2018, and even 2017 was very good in Seattle. Then went to Kansas City. Was never a Pro Bowler in Seattle. I mean, he had some decent years in Seattle. Really think about it. He had 13 sacks in 2018. I already went over his stats in 2018. Really surprises me that he wasn't a Pro Bowler in 2018 with the Seahawks, but was never able to be a Pro Bowler in Seattle. Got to restart with the Kansas City Chiefs. Has won 2 Super Bowls in 2020. In 2022 with the Chiefs, made a couple big plays in the Super Bowl last year. I think he had a sack or 2 in the Super Bowl, and I mean, I think that I'll go over his stats with the Kansas City Chiefs in the postseason last year. He played 3 games, 3 starts in the postseason. He had 3 sacks in the postseason for 7 tackles and 3 tackles for loss. And I believe he had 1 sack in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I think that definitely Kansas City has to be the front runner. What a team that I wouldn't surprise me to go after him and to pair him next to Aaron Donald would be the Los Angeles Rams. The Atlanta Falcons have been a team that when the Broncos still had him, they were interested in trading for him. Maybe a couple of other surprise potential teams in the mix for Frank Clark. But I think the Chiefs have to be number one now. I don't think he ever wanted to leave there, but just with the contract situation, just it didn't make it. Just couldn't. It wasn't possible for him to stay there. They waived him. That contract is gone, and now there is the chance for the Chiefs to bring him back on the cheap. And the Broncos, they're a dumpster fire. They've traded Randy Gregory away. They've who they signed to a huge deal, 5-year, $70 million deal. They've now released Frank Clark, who was a big addition to the offseason for them. And now you'd have to think more is on the horizon for this Denver Broncos team when it comes to getting rid of players. I mean, you think guys like Garrett Bowles, offensive tackle, Kareem Jackson, who is a cornerback, and those guys like those 2 guys are next. You think either both or one of their star wide receivers, Jerry Jeudy or Courtland Sutton, will be traded. I would think probably Jerry Jeudy and probably Courtland Sutton stays. You'd think maybe a guy like Justin Simmons, one of their best players on the roster, safety, could be traded. You think Pat Surtain II could get moved, possibly. I think it's going to be a little bit. I don't think that happens, but definitely they're probably hearing offers on him. So there are so many tradable players in this roster. They're trying to get rid of everybody, and I guess nobody wanted to trade for Frank Clark, and instead now he is a free agent. So yeah, you guys, your thoughts on the release of Frank Clark, and that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Peace out.